Доброго времени суток, дамы и господа. Я микрофоном, и я приветствую вас на своем канале. Сегодня посмотрим анонс лиги Settlers of Kalguur. К сожалению, для меня Grinding Gear Games выпускает свои анонсы очень поздно по новосибирскому времени, в районе 3 часов. Так что было принято решение не запускать стрим и лайв-реактить, а буквально как проснусь, включить запись и посмотреть, собственно, попогать или, наоборот, погрустить от анонса. Лайв-реакция для меня формат новый, поэтому прошу не судить строго, если все видео я буду сидеть с каменным лицом. Но я думаю, мы отметим какие-то фишки по ходу просмотра и засим. Думаю, давайте проследуем к просмотру.
GG Live. Today, we're going to show you an exclusive reveal of Path of
Здравствуй,
Exile Settlers
Крис.
of Kalguur,
Здравствуй,
which
здравствуй.
launches next week on
Порадуй
July
меня.
26th. Twitch drops are enabled on today's live stream, so make sure you follow the instructions below in order to claim your Corsair back attachment.
Блин, у них такой чистый
In
английский,
today's
всегда
stream,
приятно
we'll take you
слушать.
on a deep dive into the new
Я,
Settlers of
естественно, для
Kalguur
записи
Challenge League. We'll
оставил
cover the league
русские
mechanics,
сабы,
its new and
но
revised crafting systems, a new trade market system for
если
currency,
там хотя
some
бы
sweeping balance
среднего
improvements,
уровня
including 2
навыки в
ascendancy class
английском языке, я
changes,
думаю, что
endgame
вообще
improvements,
никаких
some
проблем
further additions to the campaign,
смотреть в
and some
лайв
quality of life features.
формате.
We'll then talk about our console native port releases and the features that come alongside them. Finally, we'll show you our new supporter packs, ending with a live Q&A session where Ziggy D will ask Path of Exile's game director Mark your questions from Twitch chat. After the live stream, we'll drop the full
Я надеюсь,
patch
не будет
notes.
Poe 2 пока
I'll hand over
анонсов.
to Mark now to introduce
Честно
the
говоря,
new
я
league.
хочу уже полноценно увидеть
We're
Poe 2,
really
а не
innovated with the content in
анонсы
this
эти.
league, and I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks. So let's just get right into it with the trailer for Path of Exile, Settlers of Kalguur.
Отлично. Никакого Poe 2. Ну, давайте. У меня, если что, есть чат в Телеграме по Poe с друзьями. Он там разрывается. Я пока ничего не читал.
You'd have to be mad to settle here. And yet, welcome to King's March. It's not much yet, but with your help, we can erect the greatest city Rayclast has ever seen.
Так, градостроительный симулятор. Этого, да, у нас еще не было.
Resources.
Ага. О, расщепляем минералы. Теперь мы космосим.
Soon we'll attract settlers, craftsmen.
Так, стоп. Давайте, наверное, сразу чекать вот такие вещи. Сори.
Craftsmen.
Так, что у нас тут? Это рекомбинаторы вернули. Это лига, в которой я играл меньше всего. Как они? На Sentinel? Или как-то так.
And of course, pirates.
Ага. Босс-панельки я очень
But
давно
if
ждал.
we prevail, our ships will be heavy with gold. We hope to
Вообще
achieve
любитель
the
всяких
impossible.
экономических стратегий,
We hope
симов
to build
каких-то.
a home.
Это прям кажется лишка для меня. Это прям для меня. Здрасте, подождите. Можно еще раз? Итак, 30 хаосов. Они в рамках лиг механики решили наконец-то починить трейд валюты? Да есть же ж, да сколько... Господи. Самое худшее, что есть на маркете, это трейд валюты. Это просто... Ну, это с этим соглашаются все. Матерь Божья, это так прекрасно. Варден Ascendancy, ага. Гладиатор. О, наконец-то! Я очень давно жду, когда Глада проапают как-то. Массив мили, ребаланс. Ага, вот, летал за нами этот Sentinel. Что-то до хера вы там наворотили, ребятушки. Мы не умрем в этой лиге.
In
Поехали,
Path of
почти.
Exile Settlers of Kalguur, you will encounter some familiar faces from the Expedition League. Danig, Rog, Tujin,
А они
and
останутся,
Gwenin are
ну,
Kalguuran people
экспедиция
who are trying
останется?
to establish trade between Rayclast and their homeland. They have recruited many curious characters from Rayclast, including some you may recognize, but are also seeking help of a powerful exile, like yourself. You will first encounter Johan, the King's Hand and Lion Eye's Watch. He's there
Десница
recruiting
короля.
workers, traders, and exiles. Johan, under the command of the King of Kalguur, has been sent here to build a new city called King's March, which intends to become the hub of commerce between Rayclast and Kalguur.
Мгм.
Soon, he will bring you to the planned site for King's March, which you'll notice has humble beginnings as just a tavern in a field. But with your help, it won't stay like this for long.
Ну да,
It
пока
takes a lot to build a town.
выглядит
The Kalguurans will
нежизнеспособно.
ask you to seek out resources that can be used to begin construction. On your adventures, you might find minerals such as crimson iron, which are veins of iron that have been overrun with corruption, spawning dangerous foes when you approach.
Ну
Or
понял,
perhaps
понял.
orichalcum, which you will have to liberate from the demons worshipping it. Petrified amber attracts
Блин, прикольно, они
mindless,
все лиги,
blighted
да, тут
enemies,
по сути пытаются
while
задействовать.
bismuth has a strong affinity to the elements and causes
Да,
the area
вот
to
этот,
become
как
unstable.
Mirror of Kalandra, да?
If you're lucky, you might find vericium, a material as valuable as it is dangerous, and guarded by very powerful foes. Once you
Кем?
defeat these monsters, the deposit will automatically be tagged for mining. But first, we need to get someone to do the hard labor. This is,
Так.
of course, a trade expedition and nothing is free. Miners, along with other workers that the Kalguurans have hired, must be paid in cold, hard gold, which you'll notice is now dropping throughout Rayclast. You will have control about who gets hired
Это
into
из
your
второй, да,
enterprise.
поя они уже добавили,
Once
походу.
you have accumulated some gold, head to the town and talk to the recruiter, Raoul.
Потихоньку внедряет фишки из
He's been
второго
busy
поя.
tracking down
Потому что
hardy
там
folk
золото
across
тоже уже
Rayclast
начало
who are
падать.
looking for work. You'll notice each person has their specialties and a wage cost. It'll be up to you to hire and fire as you please. Over the course of the league, you'll be searching
Я
for your
пока
perfect
прям на
employees for each
хайпе.
job.
Я обожаю, говорю,
Once
тут
you have them,
всякие
you have to keep them paid,
градостроительные
safe,
штуки.
and alive, which we'll get into later. Here we have a prospect who has a specialty in mining. We'll start with that so we can begin to retrieve some of those resources we were talking about earlier. Let's go find some ore and put our miner to use. Oh, we've found a vein of orichalcum ore. It's guarded by dangerous demons worshipping a strange shrine. The shrine buffs the demons, giving them power, but once you defeat them, you can seize that power for yourself. After that, we can tag the ore, and our mining specialist will get to work. Soon, we encounter a few more deposits, each with a different dangerous encounter. After you have tagged the mineral veins, your miners will get to work collecting resources in real time. They might take a while, but will continue whether you are logged in or not.
А есть
work can
эти,
be sped up by
как в мобильных играх, короче, бустеры, которые будут ускорять тот вонючий таймер. Потому что 40 минут, да вы чё? Хотя для поя 40 минут это там сколько-то мапок, да, побегать. Нормально,
hiring
нормально.
more or better miners, and by upgrading the mining station back in King's March to equip them with advanced pickaxes. Alright, some time has passed and our miners have been able to get the resources back to town. We've also managed to collect some more gold too. We can now upgrade the town and build new structures. There's plenty of options, we just need to decide where to start. I think we'll start with the
Показывайте.
tavern, the beating heart of King's March. It can be
Давай.
upgraded instantly to improve the recruiter's prospects. And you can find various important NPCs relaxing here. Next, we'll upgrade our mining station. You can upgrade this to improve the
Типа,
efficiency of
да,
your
ускоряет.
miners and allocate our newly hired
Ну,
workers
это
to mining.
дефолтная вот эта история, да, с мобилок.
You will eventually need a smelter, where you can send your ore
Ты
to
там
turn into
королевство
more
какое-нибудь
valuable
строишь
bars.
Mobile Legends.
Then we have the Disenchanter, where you can bring your magic,
Нет.
rare,
Lord
or
of-
unique items to be
Кто-то
added
там,
to a
я играл
cube
в
to be
какую-то мобилку.
disenchanted over time. The items will be broken down into thaumaturgic dust, a new resource used for crafting and shipping. We'll get more into that later. And of course, a town needs food.
Надо собирать
You
тонны
could invest in
мусора.
farming, where you can select crops to grow and harvest. But don't worry, you won't be manually watering anything. Ah, the wonders of delegation. With all these resources piling up, there will be excess that we can spend. Let's talk about rewards in Settlers of Kalguur. Eventually, you can build a harbour and establish shipping routes between a number of different Kalguuran and Karui ports for trade. You'll be able to pile your acquired resources onto these ships and send them to a port of your choosing, where your traders will haggle for the best deals. Each port will return specific rewards based on what you send them. They accept all types of resources, but will have a preferred type that they'll currently pay more for. And you'll want to get onto this, because eventually you could be bringing in shipments like this. This and shipments like this.
И это все вознаграждение, да? Блин, выглядит супер круто. Прям огнище, я бы сказал.
This.
Ага, так, давайте еще одну с мирором. 6 диванов.
Even this.
Давай, что тут у нас? Давай, мирор. Ага. Ну, без мирора, но сильно, сильно.
You'll notice that as we send more resources, this risk meter creeps up. Much like the dangers on the shores of Reclast, there are
Я как разработчик, мне немножко больно, сколько им пришлось имплементировать менюшек.
You'll want to try keep your shipment safe. You can do this by hiring workers
Просто
that
до хера
specialize in
новых
shipping.
менюшек, до хера
The more
новых
of them you add to
каких-то
the ship, the less risk there will be.
UI штук именно.
Like this gentleman, who's famous for fending off even the most dangerous of pirates. Now let's get that shipment going, and we'll continue exploring Reclast while we wait for its return. This is the first Path of Exile League that experiments with true, real-time mechanics. You can send out shipments, go and have lunch, and come back to your rewards. Many mechanics in the league work this way, so you'll always have an ongoing project or outcome to look
Я
forward to.
напоминаю, я взял неделю отпуска под
When your
это, мы
shipment has
будем
returned,
гриндить как
or met its
твари.
demise, you'll get notified, and at your leisure you can return to the
Чат.
town
Это,
to collect
кстати,
your
уже
rewards.
болезнь стримера.
Our
Нет
shipment
никакого
returned
чата.
safely. So let's go see what we got.
Ага.
Ooh, they've sent us a unique item alongside our rewards, perhaps hoping to secure us as a loyal customer for the future.
А.
Aside from shipping, the Kalguurans are big on their technology. They have hired Isla, a familiar face from the Heist League. She is an engineer who the Kalguurans have employed for a very exciting purpose. You're not the only one who understands how profitable running maps can be. Once at endgame, Isla can help you build a series of Kalguuran modified map devices. You can then put a queue of maps into them. If you've hired a few skilled Atlas runners, they will put themselves to work running those maps for you one after another. Look, more delegation. Once again, you'll be notified when the rewards are ready to be collected. You can put lots of maps in the queue, so don't feel obliged to go back there all the time. Be careful though. The difficulty of the map impacts the risk of your workers perishing. Try to pick your best workers, or perhaps just ones you don't like. Consider the difficulty too. Sometimes it's better to just run it yourself. You'll see there are many benefits to having a whole-ass town at your fingertips. Let's talk about crafting services. You should definitely consider building a runesmithing table. This is operated by Danig himself, using powerful Kalguuran blacksmithing arts. He can engrave runic magic onto your weapons using runes. There are many rune types and combinations to choose from, and you can unlock new crafts that can be applied to your weapons as enchantments. Our design intention here is to take powerful effects you would usually only find on unique items, like this modifier, which you might recognize from Doomfletcher's Prism. Danig can apply it to your two-hand maces.
All in a day's work.
There are over 100 different special crafting outcomes, ranging from ones very easily applied to very difficult. The rune types can be acquired through trade with Kalguur, or defeating powerful bosses. The Kalguur and tech benefits don't end there.
Вот этот
We're
станок.
also bringing back a formerly overpowered crowd favorite, recombination. Isla is trying to master this. She just needs you to help her with getting resources. The system isn't as strong as it used to be, but it still allows you to combine
Ну да,
two
ее
items
нельзя было в
together,
том же виде
hoping to get
останавливать.
the best modifiers of each onto a single item. Between running a town, shipping, and exploring, you'll be collecting a lot of extra gold. It is now
Крафт
the
будет
primary resource
безумный.
for two huge new quality of life features that we are putting to test. Firstly, you can use gold to respec passive points. This is a feature from Path of Exile 2 that we've decided just makes sense to port back. The higher level you are, the more expensive it gets. And the next one is absolutely massive. A currency trade market.
Как это?
Kalgurans have recruited Faustus, another NPC from the Heist League. He allows you to asynchronously buy and sell currency and most other stackable items with other players without the nuisance of price fixes and people who never respond.
Господи, спасибо вам огромное. Я не знаю, они должны потом делать это
And your
core
ideal
механикой.
ratio. It works kinda like a real-life stock market. Faustus will make the trade happen for you, so long as there is someone selling on the other end for the same rate or less. You'll be able to go back to blasting monsters while trusty Faustus does the dirty work, notifying you when your currency is ready for collection. All you need to do is pay him a small amount of gold for his time.
Я ждал, я не знаю, я давно играю в По, и, господи, худший мой экспириенс в По — это обмен валютой.
We're very excited to see how it goes. Now,
Я пока прям вау.
Black market trade and shady deals, he also provides another service, offering items for gold. The items will generate random rarity, and on average, the modifiers on them are better than
Прощай, Гвинен.
This can be a very nice way to get some targeted items during the campaign. For serious crafters, it can be a great starting point for making those elusive, specific in-game items, which perhaps you could take to the runesmith afterwards. It's worth noting that you can invite Faustus to your hideout, where he will always be available for respecking, currency exchange, and black market items. As your town grows, it will attract more attention, good and bad. Settlers of Kalguur features 3 endgame bosses that will close in on your operations, wanting a piece of the pie. They might capture and ransom your workers, even your entire ships.
Это вот редкая руда, про которую они говорили, вот она также выглядела. Это, видимо, с боссом, да, как-то связана она.
Make some tough decisions. Will you take them on or pay them off? One example of a boss is Sasan, the Bandit Lord.
Сасан?
You won't stumble across this boss by accident. Instead, this unsavory character can come into your town at night and take your Atlas runners hostage, holding them for ransom. What happens next is up to you. Perhaps you'll refuse to negotiate with bandits,
Ты приходишь, а тебе говорят, они все в заложниках, да?
If you're not up for the heroics, you might simply pay the ransom in gold. Or perhaps these workers were especially disappointing, and you'll just leave them for dead in true Ray class fashion. They knew what they were signing up for, right? Of course, the heroics might be worth it for other reasons. These bosses can drop new unique items.
Так, давайте быстро. Шанс to block становится. Вард. Вард, да, хотят пробафать, судя по этому счету. Минус блок спелл. Chance to block is lucky. Ага. Триггер, да, сильная штука.
Kalguur is a very experimental league with new mechanics that will completely change how you play the core game. We've been sitting on a lot of these ideas for a while and can't wait to share them with you.
А мне не терпится поиграть в это.
Let's talk about balance.
Давай.
We've finally rebalanced the gladiator. It's been a long time coming.
Хорошо.
Like before, there are passive skills that allow you to invest in
Так,
bleeding
все.
and block.
Сори, мне надо прочитать, потому что я очень болею за Гладиатора, как вы могли понять по единственному видосу на моем канале до этого. Шанс to blockchain from equivalence instead of... Подожди. Дает 50% invest chance to block from equipment instead of shields value. Ага. Я что-то не понял. Ну вот это вот лаки, если recently настолько неконсистентно, звучит как параш, чат. 300 так спид, а так cause bleedings. Ну это понятно, мелкий. Explode. Не убрали, на том спасибо. Вот что такое... Ага, bleeding which has been aggravated always deals high damage, as though the target was moving. То есть не работает, да,
We've
на
designed new skills
стаками.
replacing some of the old ones. Like this, War of Attrition, which is very handy for long sustained.
Стоп, челленджер чарджи убрали. 1% damage with hits and damages. For each second they've been in your presence. Вот это звучит классно.
boss
Реально для
fights.
боссинга хорошая штука.
Further alongside the gladiator theme, this new passive allows you to combine different weapon types while dual wielding to get a variety of powerful bonuses. For
Ну это надо
example,
читать, ладно.
holding a dagger will give you more critical strike chance, while holding a mace gives you more area of effect.
Проблема в том, что блок
Of
убили
course,
вообще в
you
ноль.
could just use Varanastra for all weapon type bonuses.
Как будто
And
бы.
finally, we have a new notable which allows you to invest in the newly added
Retaliation skin can be used for an additional 2 seconds.
retaliation skills. These are active skills which require you to meet a certain condition in order to use them.
Угу.
Once you meet that condition, you can unleash devastation on your foes. Here
Блин,
we
надо
have
разбираться.
Eviscerate, which requires you to have a shield. Or for those who like to dual wield, Sword Storm, which is great for obliterating bosses. Here we have the Divine Retribution skill.
Короче, мы будем пробовать гладиатора в этой лиге,
block.
скорее всего.
You can then unleash a devastating spell, causing lightning bolts to strike the ground in an X shape around your target location, doing huge amounts of damage. And of course, in true Path of Exile fashion, there are many avenues to invest in these mechanics further on the passive tree and a new support gem. You are able to increase the leeway duration after meeting the condition, reduce the cooldowns, or just increase their damage. The world's your oyster.
Будем разбираться.
The Gladiator wasn't the only Ascendancy class we've changed. As we develop Path of Exile systems, we often find ourselves reusing mechanics, increasing their depth, and allowing more avenues to invest into them. As such, the Raider Ascendancy class found itself lacking. With many of its
Это
passives
правда.
commonly
Его
available
очень
elsewhere.
давно все ждали.
We want our Ascendancy classes to always feel like they're pushing the boundaries, allowing you to change your character in ways that are meaningful and ideally unique. As a result, we've straight up removed the Raider, rest in peace. And we've added a new class in its place, the Warden. This
Ага.
class is largely inspired by its predecessor from the Affliction League, with a few changes. The Warden now focuses on elemental attacks, changing the behavior of shock, enhancing freeze, and replacing ignite with scorch.
Угу.
There's also a skill that allows you to go ballistic with your elemental damage, periodically. The class also grants Barkskin, which is a skill that can be used to mitigate physical damage from hits. After
Блин,
taking a
они
number of
забавно
hits, it
использовали
increases your
Affliction.
evasion, making it a great defensive choice.
Тоже надо
Finally,
исследовать.
the last thing the Warden can specialize in is
Микстуры,
tinctures.
понятно, да.
These are an alternative to flasks from the Affliction League. We're bringing them back with adjusted mechanics.
Стоп, они их возвращают, но
Tinctures
только
can be
один
placed in your
класс?
belt, replacing
использовать?
flasks. You can inherently only
Нет.
have one tincture active at a time, and it requires a melee weapon to use. While
Ага.
activated, they grant a powerful buff. They can drop as magic items or be modified with currency to grant extra bonuses.
Ага. Но, а пробафать их
Here
только
is a
один класс
prismatic
может?
tincture. This one increases elemental damage by 100% while active.
Здравствуйте.
You'll notice it has two extra effects. One is that it applies mana burn every second. Mana burn is a debuff that builds up while tinctures are active that causes you to lose mana, losing more mana for each stack. Tinctures also have a cooldown, so once you have disabled one, no other tincture can be enabled for a time. These changes make tincture use a more active and interesting choice than it was in Affliction. Both mana burn and the cooldown can be modified through modifiers on the tinctures or on the passive skill tree. Players will want to maximize their tincture uptime for sure. Here we have a couple
То
other
есть, типа,
tinctures.
0 маны, да, мы
The
хотим?
Poisonberry tincture
Correct.
is excellent for poison builds. The Rosethorn tincture is the choice for those wanting to deal critical strikes.
А еще раз, что про Poison? Там у меня есть сори, задумка есть. Chance to Poison with melee hits. Ладно,
Tincture
нет.
is excellent for poison builds.
Мне не подходит.
The Rosethorn tincture is the choice for those wanting to deal critical strikes. You might be wondering, with the removal of the Raider, where has the Frenzy Charge investment gone? We've added a Frenzy Charge passive skill to the Deadeye, replacing the Rupture passive skill.
Да,
On top of Ascendancy
собственно,
classes, we have revisited a number of core mechanics. This
Там
time
же как
taking
раз не
pains to
хватало
ensure
Frenzy
easy
Charge.
access through the passive tree,
Я, кстати,
skill
недоволен,
gems,
что
and
они это
simple
туда
items.
добавили.
We don't want all the powerful mechanics to be hidden behind layers of complexity. Let's just rapid fire through the key points. If you want more detail later, you can read the patch notes, which will be dropped after the live stream.
Будем читать,
Be
будем
sure to let
читать.
us know what you think. There's
Сразу
a
скажу, что
lot of
постараюсь
changes,
записать
so be prepared for a
видос
bit of
с
a shock
основными
to the system.
изменениями, которые
I
найду
expect it will
для
take
себя.
several days for the dust to settle on this one. Firstly, we've made some drastic alterations to melee skills.
Все
Let me
ждали,
just rip
что...
this band-aid off.
Хотя...
Melee totem skill gems have been removed.
Да, Ancestral тотемы все
We're
уже
trying to
понимали,
adopt
что
a
будут 3
philosophy with melee going
по
forward
ряду
that unlike
намеков.
other builds, it will be far less oriented around set and forget gameplay. You will deal the damage yourself, and you should be rewarded for doing so. To compensate, we have buffed the damage on almost every single melee skill. As the majority of this damage growth comes from gem levels, we have also made them cost more mana as they level, but it's nothing like the mana costs on spells. Here are some examples of the damage and costs before and after. Heavy Strike has gone from dealing 313% attack damage at gem level 20 to a
Во
massive
сколько?
552% attack damage. It's also worth noting, it no longer
Так,
knocks
кажется, план меняется. Я спланировал стартовать на Poison BV Pathfinder'е. Мы возвращаемся к нашему, кажется, Lacerate Гладиатору. Сразу будем исследовать это дело. Мне что-то... Ну, если у Lacerate вот такие же изменения... Или циклон.
enemies back. And Sweep has gone from dealing 281% attack damage to now dealing 664%
А может мы с
attack
свипом... А,
damage
стоп,
at
но
gem
они
level
убрали...
20.
Они убрали
These are
этот...
just two
плоту.
examples, but the majority of melee skills are now dealing approximately 75% more damage at level 20. Of course, with melee comes close proximity combat, so you need some good defensive options. New base
Так.
types with higher defensive values will now drop throughout the endgame. As
Это
you reach
тоже
yellow,
анонсили.
red, and purple maps, you can expect to find higher tier base types in each.
Угу.
For example, Val Regalia and Hubris Circlet are no longer the best in slot items for Energy Shield. There are new base types that surpass them. Combined with some quality changes, which we'll talk about soon, you can now get better items than ever before in these slots.
А какой теперь
To
предел для
compensate, we have
ЕС? Ну, в
reduced the amount
смысле...
of flat evasion and armor from the Grace and Determination auras. But overall, you're getting more defenses than before. On top of this, we have buff life modifiers on magic and rare equipment. You can now get as high as 189 additional maximum life from a single modifier on body armors.
Что будет по дэмэджу у мобов? Как бы люди и без этого жили.
Count's heart has also finally been restored to its former glory and once again grants plus 1000 to maximum life. I mentioned quality. Quality on weapons and armors is being changed
это
to
было в
apply
спойлерах.
multiplicatively.
Это было в
In
спойлерах.
other words, weapons with full quality will give 20% more physical damage, and armor with full quality will have 20% more local defenses. For melee,
Я только не
this will
понимаю,
mean
как
a
это
damage
работает с
increase for
энчантами.
almost all builds using physical damage attacks.
Ну,
And
то
it
есть,
will mean more evasion, armor, energy shield,
энчант,
and ward
где
for all
quality дает
builds.
life, например, на пузе
Endurance
вместо...
charges no longer grant elemental resistances, but instead grant additional
увеличения
elemental damage
защиты.
reduction, making it multiplicative with resistances. You can now get 4% per charge, alongside the existing 4% physical damage reduction. To compensate, we have made some changes to the Juggernaut, and various unique items like Eternal Damnation.
Это
You can get
важная
more
штука.
maximum resistances from the tree, specifically around the Marauder class start. These of course can stack with the new elemental mitigation from endurance charges. On top of this, Duels can now roll maximum elemental resistances as modifiers. Since we're making elemental mitigation more accessible, we've heavily reduced accessibility to physical damage taken as chaos or elemental damage. Those stats are still around,
ну это
but you
тоже
should not
ожидали.
expect to be getting full conversion anymore. All block passives have been buffed, so you can now more easily achieve block cap from just the passive tree. The
Может быть, в этом
keystone
ключе
Versatile
реально
Combatant
гладиатора
has been
пробуем?
improved to have less of a penalty to maximum block. A number of life leech passives have been buffed to generally allow for more acquisition of maximum leech rate for life. Vow Pact has been reinstated to its former glory. For
Ну,
instant
теперь я
life
хочу
leech,
реально на милишнике
but
стартовать.
only for melee.
С endurance чарджами,
We've
с блоком.
reworked Flesh and Stone. Previously, this buff skill granted
Так,
maim
вот,
and blow,
lacerate.
depending on the stance of our character.
Ага.
Now, while in Sand stance, the skill simply provides damage mitigation, becoming more effective the closer you are to enemies. While in Blood stance, enemies will take more physical damage the closer you are to them. This skill will now greatly favor melee or close-range gameplay.
Блин, я не в той лиге сделал свой
Ward
билд-гайд.
has also received a bit of attention. There are new uniques that grant ward, and the base restoration of ward is now faster. To compensate, Olroth's resolve has been nerfed, but ward loop builds will still be possible. Anyway, that was most of the purely defensive changes. Now let's look at some of the offensive and utility-based ones. There are more and better ways to deal with mana as an attacker on the southern hemisphere of the passive tree.
Кайф. И опять же у дуэлиста, да, это все?
Wands, daggers, scepters, claws, and staves now have higher critical strike chance values than ever. Wands can go as high as 10% without modifiers. Sandstorm Visage has been made rarer to compensate, instead of reducing its power. For you wand attackers, wands now have higher attack speed than ever to compensate for their low damage. Wand exclusive skills such as Power Siphon, Kinetic Bolt, and Kinetic Blast now have faster attack times. Impale passives have been revised and in general buffed. The buffs granted by Warcries are now simpler but more significant, and more universal to builds. They also now apply to allies by default. Banners have been reworked. Instead of having a reservation cost, they are now free.
Бесплатный,
However,
отлично.
they don't
Но,
grant a permanent buff.
ну,
Banners now need to be placed for the effect to be active. However, once placed, they are far more powerful than before. Additionally, there are new ways to prolong the effects and more ways to invest in them than ever before.
но с другой стороны, это что-то типа...
Rage has been made more fundamental and discoverable. Rage is now multiplicative attack damage, but no longer inherently grants attack speed or movement speed.
Блин, ну вот
It has a new
это
cap, and
странно.
you can find many new passive clusters that
А как
allow you to
Берсерк
invest
живет
into the
сейчас?
mechanic. The goal is to make Rage more powerful as a baseline and less gated behind the use of specific unique items and ascendancy classes.
Ну, да, цель-то я понимаю.
Berserk has been nerfed, just so you're aware. We have changed how bleed works too. You can now find aggravated bleed on the passive tree. When applied, all bleeds on the enemy will deal damage as if the enemy is moving for the remainder of their duration. The skill Ensnaring Arrow no longer interacts with bleed, so no more will you have to apply bleeds and swap to a bow. You can now achieve the same result using aggravated bleed passives without the annoyance. Rupture from the Deadeye has been turned into a support gem. We've added the new Overexertion support gem, which highly favors slam builds. Now, it's time to look at a hot topic, Magic Find. In the Settlers of Kalguur expansion, we are going to be removing item quantity bonuses from all character items. This will not affect existing items
Они
and
возвращают
stand bleeds.
Affliction,
Magic
но...
Find is intended to be another access on your gear you can scale once you have achieved the power you want. With item quantity being only available on unique items, this meant if you wanted to get the most out of it, you had to be playing a very specific build. We still want people to be able to invest into Magic Find, but now only through item rarity.
Ну, то есть они добавили Affliction, но Quantity убрали.
And by a much larger number of
Это может
builds.
решить проблему, потому
What about Ventor's
что...
Gamble, you might ask? Here it is now.
Mana
This is one of the
Reservation...
biggest balance patches we've ever done. I can't promise that existing builds will all be safe. Even we
RMR
aren't able to predict all the
на
outcomes
Венторы.
here, nor have we even gone into every single change, just the major ones. I don't know, man. Balance is hard. But the sheer number of new, viable options is exciting, especially for
Блин, не,
melee.
это очень классно
And we're
звучит.
determined to drag the game in a better direction. Be sure to read the patch notes after this. It's going to be a ruckus. In 3.24, we overhauled the in-game experience by introducing a new tier of maps and reworking scarabs. We want to
Было такое.
continue to improve these systems and introduce more exciting in-game content every league. 3.25 is no exception. Let's check out the myriad of changes coming in Settlers of Kalguur. First up, we are changing many scarabs. We won't go into too much detail here to avoid getting lost in the weeds, but here's a few new ones. Be sure to check out the patch notes after this for more detail. We've also added an additional map device slot, which will be unlocked upon completing your first 10-way Maven encounter. This simply allows for more combinations of scarabs and maps, resulting in more difficulty and more rewards. This is on top of the existing additional slot that can be unlocked by completing your first Tier 17 map. There are now 6 map device slots in total. You might have seen our teaser, where we revealed we'll be adding new special encounters to the endgame. One such encounter is the Nameless Seer, lurking in Tier 16 and 17 maps. This NPC will give you a selection of unique items, and you can pick one for free. In Tier 16 maps, he now has an additional feature, where you can scry a map. This allows you to swap the divination card drops of the current map with another map on your atlas. Just one caveat, you cannot have the same map be in multiple swaps at the same time. If you want to undo your choice, you can use a scouring orb on either map on your atlas.
Жестко.
We've also made some updates to a couple
Вот
of leagues.
это круто.
Blight has been updated with some atlas passive skill changes, and double anointed amulets can now drop in Blight Ravage maps. We've also introduced a new type of oil that can only drop from Blighted and Blight Ravage maps. Ritual has also been updated. You can now find one new and many reworked base types, new unique items, corpses you can use to raise as specters,
Corpses.
and
Значит.
occasionally a fragment, granting access to the King in the Mists boss fight from the Affliction League. He will drop a number of unique items that were familiar from the league, but not that which was taken, as it is now that which was taken away.
Я хотел Which was taken.
However, he now drops a different modular jewel that you might recognize from the Necropolis League. In Tier 16 and Tier 17 maps, you can now encounter the Wildwood, also from the Affliction League. In case you missed it, the Wildwood is a mysterious forest fraught with danger.
Ну вот, собственно, Affliction есть. То есть кванту оттуда можно накручивать.
They will empower the monsters in your map, promising more danger but more rewards. Но была проблема, что МФ стакался сильно с Affliction. И в той лиге мейджблады были там сколько? По 60 диванов? Upon activation, they will buff monsters around you, increasing their difficulty and rewards. And here's one for those who like to live dangerously. You may occasionally find a reflective mist from the Kalandra League. It has two outcomes. It could drop a jewelry item with randomly enhanced or inverted modifier values, or it can give a reflecting mist item, which can be used on an existing piece of jewelry to perform the same action at a time of your choosing. Good luck! There's many other small changes to League content.
Сколько всего.
We're removing the first 15 most boring waves of the simulacrum
Ну, про
and
симулякр
rebalancing its
знаем.
rewards to improve the chances of finding unique jewels. We're also adding some of the beasts from Einhar's Memory of Harvest Beasts to the core pool. This includes the Black Morrigan. In other news, we've added a set of new chisel types, which can be applied to your maps to get different bonuses. While the Cartographer's Chisel still increases item quantity, there are new ones that now increase rarity, pack size, increased chance for currency items, divination cards, and scarabs. It's also worth mentioning that chisels now apply 20% quality per chisel to white maps, 10% to yellow maps, and 5% to red maps and higher. Unique maps still require the full 20 chisels. Also, only one type of chisel can be applied to a map at a time. During 3.24, we made a change to Tier 17 maps that allowed them to be rerolled with Chaos Orbs. We are now expanding the currency types that can be used on them to also include currencies like chisels and Val Orbs. Ultimately, the only restriction Tier 17 maps now have is that explicit modifiers cannot be removed from them. We have also revised the difficulty of these maps, as they didn't quite hit the mark. The monsters in them now have substantially less life, and deal less damage, meaning Tier 17 maps now better fit into the progression between Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content. Lastly, we've adjusted the drop rate of Valdo's puzzle boxes. Previously, we were adapting the drop rate based on the possible outcomes selected by supporters. So many supporters really wanted Mage Bloods, so the box was hardly dropping. Thus, we have drastically increased the drop rate of the box, but reduced the probability of getting chase unique items from it, like Mage Blood. Overall, we have taken care not to reduce the number of Mage Bloods total in the economy. We figured it was better to have more tickets for fun rather than barely seeing any boxes in a league. We've been hard at work improving the Path of Exile experience on consoles. With native ports
я,
for
с
the
вашего
Xbox
позволения,
Series
для консоли вот
consoles
это
already been
пропущу.
released, in 3.24, we added some new encounters and secrets to the campaign. In Settlers of Kalguur, we're adding even more. We're not going to spoil them all here, but keep an eye out for anything unfamiliar on your adventures. Who knows what you'll find? I mean, I know, but still. There's an underground bunker underneath the refinery, guarded by powerful robots. I wonder what's been hidden away here.
Это
How do I
первый
unlock
этот.
this mysterious door? What riches must lay inside? Blighted growths have appeared in the gardens. and
Короче, они
sewers of
решили
Sarn.
все лик-механики, да, запихать в
A
компанию,
vault
чтобы
containing
познакомить.
riches can be found in the reliquary. As you might have seen in our teasers, there's a slew of quality of life features we've been working on.
Это
Here's a
правда.
quick summary. You'll no longer need to interact with waypoints to unlock them. You can just walk by and they'll activate automatically. When using keyboard and mouse, you'll be able to pick
Вот это
up items
очень
from
важная
further
штука.
away.
Я вам честно
We're
скажу,
adding
геймплей
static
будет
life bars to
по-другому
some
чувствоваться.
bosses. Not all bosses will have them
Ну,
just yet,
лайфбар
but we'll
это
be
уже
adding more over
просто
time.
как будто стандарт
You can
UI.
now see which divination cards drop in each map
Этого
by
требовалось
hovering over
сделать.
them on your atlas. When you die, you can now resurrect without having to reactivate all your resurrection
Finally.
effects,
Fucking
like auras
finally.
and heralds.
10 лет нам потребовалось.
With just a single action. The amount of quality provided by currency items like whetstones is now based on the item level, rather than item rarity. Those currencies now apply a 20% quality to very low-level items, with that amount reducing as the item level increases. Next up, we're going to be talking about our new League supporter packs. Today, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Paladin and Penance packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, alongside several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available for the duration of the Settlers of Kalguur League and will leave the store forever when it ends.
Ну, показывайте,
As
что вы там
always, the
продаете.
microtransactions in these packs are purely cosmetic and do not affect your character's power or progression in any way. The Paladin series of supporter packs contains 6 exclusive microtransactions.
Я так понимаю, это хайдаут, да, такой?
Adorn your weapon or shield with the Paladin weapon effect. Make a show of leveling up with the Harpy Flyover level up effect. Equipping the Divine Paladin armor set will periodically cause slain enemies to be consecrated and laid to rest. This set also comes with a matching back attachment. Both the helmet and back attachment have options to display the radiant glow, or not, you pick. The Divine Judgment finisher effect locks onto unique enemies before obliterating them with a laser from the heavens.
Блин, вот эти эффекты добивания, это,
May your
конечно,
critical hits resonate
самое
across
сексуальное, что они
Raycast with
показывают
the
постоянно.
Cleric's Bell back attachment. Invite your friends to spend a day at the races in the Vasteri Racecourse hideout. Add rowers to the track to race them against each other. Or you can
Блин,
just
ну
spectate
это
from the
смешно.
sidelines.
И фаново.
The
Чё
Penance
греха
Pack
таить.
series also has 6 exclusive microtransactions. With the Penance back attachment equipped, a repentant soul is chained to your back and lashed with lightning. Ouch. Place none other than the Trial Master in your hideout and have him comment on your chaos
A classic, but far fairer now than in ancient times.
and Val crafting attempts.
Your luck is over, fool.
He even keeps a record of
такая
how many
небольшая
chaos and
приколюха.
Val orbs you've used in your hideout during the league or across all leagues. Blood stains your armor the more life you lose when wearing the Acolyte's Penance armor set. The Zealot's Madness portal effect fragments as you near it. The Cauldron map device boils maps, fragments, and scarabs placed into it, keeping a tally of how many have been thrown into the pot in the current league or across all leagues. The Exiled Squire pets follow in your footsteps, hyping you up for battles,
No sweat for you, boss.
providing pessimistic commentary,
The cycle repeats.
or voicing their disdain for you to bring you down a peg.
About time you kicked the bucket.
These packs are now available for purchase on both PC and console, and will remain so during Path of Exile, Settlers of Kalguur. Meanwhile, the Solar and Eldritch packs leave the store forever at the launch of Settlers of Kalguur League. So now's your
Ну что ж, поскольку они закончились с саппортерами, с видео мы закончили. Я в жутком предвкушении. Они столько наворотили. Ну и плюс градостроительный симулятор. Одна моя большая любовь. Вернули рекомбинаторы, добавили еще один станок к этому делу. То есть лейт-потенциал безумный. Переработали несколько классов, которые надо будет попробовать. Добавили несколько механик по типу механики для блида и механики для для чего-то еще. Короче, я уже забыл. 40 минут тотального кайфа. Это действительно самый большой анонс из того, что я помню. И при всем при этом лик-механика выглядит фаново. Очень фаново и вознаграждающе. Короче, ну, я прям в предвкушении. Ждем лиги. Я сейчас действительно задумался о том, что я, скорее всего, сменю стартера. Я подумаю. Ну, как бы гладиатора-то хочется пощупать. В остальном, я прям доволен. Я благодарю всех за просмотр. Это была лайв-реакция на анонс лиги Settlers of Kalguur. Благодарю всех. Не забывайте подписываться на канал. Также не забывайте приходить на мои лайв-стримы на Twitch-канале. Он будет в описании. А также переходить в Telegram, где я делаю анонсы и в целом пощу всяческие мысли. Я думаю, что мы еще посмотрим с вами на патч-ноуты. По крайней мере, я постараюсь выделить что-то главное и также записать видео, но только на этот раз покороче. В общем, всем спасибо. Всем хорошей лиги. Пока-пока.